Paralegal 110. This podcast is your guide for week number 1 of this course, Introduction to Paralegal. If you have not completed the reading for this week, stop listening and go complete the reading. This guide will not replace the reading. This guide is intended to supplement your own effort to read and to work to learn the material covered for this week. This isn't a lecture. And while taking notes while listening to this guide have proven to be helpful, and especially if you use the PowerPoint slides that go along with the textbook that comes with this class, well, that's shown to help students earn an A in the class. You're still expected to read the textbook chapter. Once you've done that, come back to this recording, ideally with the PowerPoint slides available to follow the PowerPoint slides, and then also taking notes. This week in Chapter 1 is more or less an introduction to the paralegal profession, what a paralegal is. It's not a difficult week. It's intended to help you be prepared to be part of an exciting and growing profession. A profession that has grown in both prestige of opportunities and salary. It's going to supplement what you learn in the classroom. It's going to help you understand where you're going in other classes, since many of you are also taking other classes. Now, what is a paralegal? A paralegal is somebody who's qualified by education, training, or work experience. At one point in time, a lot of paralegals were paralegals by work experience and training. Today, the expectation is you've attended some type of formal education, and preferably one that is like ours, American Bar Association approved. Paralegals are employed or retained by a lawyer in a law office typically, but also in corporations and government agencies. Paralegals work under the direction of a lawyer. They can do substantive legal work, but again, that's under the direction of a lawyer. Now, we're going to spend a couple weeks on ethics and professional responsibility, and one of the things that we will cover when we get to that part of the course is the expectation that you do work under the supervision of a lawyer. You may know the answer to the legal question posed by a client, a person you meet at the grocery store, your aunt, your uncle, your mother. You may be skilled enough and knowledgeable enough to create the documents that they need or to perform some of the legal services they need, but by law you are not able to do so. You have to do those things through a lawyer, just like a nurse might know what I'm suffering from and whatever ailment I present, but that nurse can't diagnose me and can't issue a prescription without the doctor. That's how it works. If you don't like that and that doesn't seem right to you, well, my suggestion is always get your bachelor's degree, go to law school, spend the 3 or 4 years in law school, sit for and pass the bar exam, and then you can do it. And that's just the reality. We'll cover that in greater detail as the weeks go on. But to be clear, paralegals perform a variety of functions that were traditionally performed by attorneys. I don't consider work that was traditionally done by a legal secretary to be paralegal work, and some of our graduates do things that may be more on the secretarial end or the document end, but most perform substantive legal work. A sample of some of those things. They conduct interviews with clients and witnesses. Some of you will have civil litigation next fall semester, and you'll do this. If you're in family law this semester or wills, trust, and estates with me this semester, we'll talk about client interviews. You may interview somebody as part of a mock project we do. Paralegals conduct legal investigations. Now, not in the sense that you go and you can take a badge and put it in somebody's face and they have to talk to you. You can't put anybody in custody or hold them under arrest. But paralegals definitely talk to other people and perform investigations, including gathering documents and statements and taking photographs and a lot of things that go into investigations in the sense that we think of an investigation. They calendar and track important deadlines. If you were part of our orientation or hopefully in your advisement with Peggy Crane, you talk about that aspect of the job. Everything we do in the law is based on a deadline. There's an expectation that I have things done or appear somewhere in almost anything that I do in the law by a deadline. So we have to keep a calendar. And I always suggest you keep a calendar for this and any other course you have, because if you don't, you can't track deadlines. And you have deadlines in this and every other course. Paralegals organize and maintain client files, and the client file is the client's property. It's the most important thing that you do. It demonstrates the work that we've done on a case on behalf of a client. And sometimes they conduct legal research. Paralegals may draft legal documents, file documents in court, summarize witness testimony, summarize deposition testimony, coordinate litigation proceedings, attend those proceedings. My paralegals would come to court with me, especially when I was on trial, and help me, assist me on trial. Of course, use of technology, and most of the time in the traditional law office today, paralegals are the person who is most adept at the technology, especially the evolving and adapting technology when it comes to creating or gathering and keeping documents and then presenting evidence to a jury. Now, your duties in the office setups vary. My paralegals had their own office because they saw clients and they needed to have a private space. Paralegals in a corporate environment are typically in a pool of cubicles, but now a lot of them are working from home, if not most of them. Way before COVID-19, large law firms had begun to right size, is what they like to say, their office staff, and also right size their footprint. It cost a lot of money. As some of you will be in law office management this semester, you'll get to do a law office project, and you'll get to see firsthand just what it costs to run an office. It costs a lot of money, and one of the biggest costs is the rent or ownership of space. Real estate costs money, however you slice it. So before COVID-19, some law firms had begun to shrink their footprint. They recognized that lawyers and paralegals could work remotely. They recognized that we didn't need as many people to process words into documents. And we no longer print many of those things. In fact, in Illinois, you have to file everything electronically. So it was a whole different world, and it was evolving before COVID-19. We're very well set up to work remotely. Now, is it ideal? No. And that's the part that everybody's working through. But look for that to be part of your future. You may not be in the office every day, but you still may be working from home. Now, that's not a concept that's unique. In the 1990s, Michelle Weghorst, who is now our dean for our department, was my paralegal. And when she had her first child, when she had her daughter, who is now an adult and a teacher herself, she wanted to work from home at some point. And so we worked it out. Now, this was before the internet was very developed and we had all the technology we had now. So it was different, but working remotely is possible. It's probably part of your future. Most of the time, though, what you're doing is drafting documents, doing research, handling client contact. You're doing a lot of client contact, and if you're in some of those other courses this semester, you'll hear me say that because, especially, for instance, in family law and a divorce practice, it's more likely than not that the client's going to talk to the paralegal way more than the lawyer. The book talks about all the different technology things, and essentially, it's a given. Everything you do in the office, in the modern law office, has some aspect of technology. We keep track of all of our time in the practice of law. From the moment you walk in the office until you leave for the evening, you keep track of your time because that's how we make money. We bill that time to clients, and so you keep track of your time. You keep track of your billing. You keep track of everything electronically, including the files. The files are created electronically most often. They're saved electronically. They're available electronically. I can access my files from wherever I am by whatever device I might have in my hand, whether that be a laptop, an iPad, my phone, and that's the modern practice. The textbook will talk to you about what the model employee might be. And from your orientation and advisement, hopefully you got a good sense that the model employee would be somebody who's prepared. They expect the unexpected. They're ethical without exception. You have character. You don't lie, cheat, or steal. You do things on time. You do things in accordance with the law. You know where and how to find the answers, and you don't stop until you do find the answers, but at the same time you're mindful of the cost because the client is paying for your time. You're resourceful. You're willing to use a variety of sources. Again, you don't stop until you find the answers. You check, and double-check those answers. You stay current with the trends in the field and all the areas of law that you're involved in. And you especially pay attention to the details, proofreading, spell checking, grammar check, checking citations. For those of you in legal research, you'll get to understand what legal citations are. Probably more than you'll ever think you ever needed to know. There's some career advice in the textbook from Bill McSorley, who I happen to know, and it's great advice, and you can read that advice, and it's things that I would tell you to do, and you don't need to necessarily worry about that at this stage, but it's something to put in your head because it's relevant. And in a blink of an eye, you'll be at the end of the program, and you'll be looking at internships and jobs. And just as another sort of little plant in your head, the trend has been, and trends like this are not created by us. They're something that we try to serve. The need has been great enough that people are ending up in their full-time job as their internship. In other words, before they're done with all courses in the program, but towards the end of the program, and maybe with only the internship or another class or two on top of the internship to go, employers will hire that individual to do paralegal work. And then the expectation is that you finish your degree while you're employed, and one of the courses that you finish is your internship. Now, when the economy is not like that, or the market's not like that, traditionally how it works is your internship is the last thing you do, and sometimes it becomes your full-time job, but Other times, it becomes something that you do to gain more experience on your resume, like the traditional internship and anything else. The rest of that chapter deals with things regarding the law and organizations, and I'm not really going to get into that. You can read about those things. You should know that we are ABA approved. That's the American Bar Association. We are ABA approved. Any certification and licensing proposals that have come across the country, and Illinois doesn't have that yet, have required that you be a graduate of an ABA approved program. This means that we have a group from the ABA that comes in periodically and reviews everything we do. We submit documents almost constantly to prove everything we do, and they establish that sense of quality that you want out of your paralegal education. They were just here in the spring. In fact, in February, I guess not in the spring semester of last year, but in February, just before COVID hit. So that was the last visit that we had. AFPE is also listed in there, the American Association for Paralegal Education. That's another organization we belong to that helps us keep best practices, keep at those standards. But then some paralegal organizations, NIFPA and NALA, are listed in there. You'll have a chance to join a NALA organization, the Central Illinois Paralegal Association, which has a pretty decent student rate, so students can join and get to know some of the paralegals and network and so forth. And I'm sure Peggy Crane will be giving you more information on that organization. Some other skill areas that are covered, communication and analytical skills, being able to gather and analyze data, not necessarily being even willing, it's going out and doing it, just making it part of what you do, being analytical, being of a mindset to break down complex things. Legal analysis can be complex. It's a combination of factual investigations, of the facts and the law. And a lot of things we do, from the initial investigations through trial preparation, our legal research and writing, all of that involves analytical skills. Communication skills. And it goes without saying that computer skills and all these other things are important. Organizational skills. It's very important to be organized, to keep track of your time, to keep track of what you've done and you need to do, keeping track of deadlines and meeting those deadlines. But communication, being able to talk to people, being willing to talk to people, to look them in the eye, to perform active listening. Reading skills, and especially writing skills. Organizing what you write. Think about what you write. Think about how it's going to be read by the person you're presenting it to. And that goes for the things you present in this class. Spell check, grammar check, proofread. Do all of those things. Take pride in what you present. And then last, professionalism. This is a profession. You should begin practicing behaving professionally at all times. How you present yourself is going to matter. How you present yourself in this class will be something you can build on, and it will matter in how you end up with the job and what jobs you end up with. How you dress, how you carry yourself, how you speak. You want to be responsible and reliable. No excuses. I'll give you, a great tip here. Lawyers see through BS. Lawyers don't tolerate nonsense. Lawyers become masters of assessing credibility. So if you're not telling me the truth, no, I don't have a polygraph built into my brain, but I'm going to have a pretty good sense of it. So be responsible and be reliable. Don't present excuses. Sometimes we have excuses. We get sick, we have a family member who's sick, we have some tragedy, a death, or something like that. You're in a car wreck. Everybody's going to go and recognize and support those sorts of things. But if you were clowning around on Facebook or something and, time got away from you, or you didn't prioritize your time or prioritize your deadlines or put in the effort to meet those at all costs, you're not being responsible and reliable, and you won't last very long. We have to put aside our personal biases and emotions. You're going to deal with a lot of people you don't necessarily agree with or agree on their position or the things they've done. You can't bring that bias. It's not your bias to bring. We represent the person. If the lawyer decides you're going to represent the person, you got to leave all that at home. You have to do what you have to do under the supervision of a lawyer to do the job. We always want to be honest, but you have to be assertive. And sometimes that's difficult for students, especially if you've not worked in a career field, where you had to put yourself out there. And there's a way to do it. You're not going to go point your finger at somebody and tell them, you will tell me the answer. You will answer my question. That's TV drama crap. Even the best trial lawyer doesn't do that. And you're not going to do it as a paralegal talking to a client or a witness or anybody else. But you have to be assertive. And you'll learn the ways to do that. And all of that will roll into, your appearance, your attitude, other factors. So to kind of summarize what this week is about, and to summarize what the chapter should have told you, paralegal and legal assistant, those are interchangeable terms. Interestingly enough, when I started teaching in this program, we referred to our program as legal assisting, not paralegal, and the ABA wanted us to change it to paralegal. But the big trend now is to go back to legal assistant. That's not driven by us or by paralegal educators. That's driven by the market. That's what a lot of employers are calling the position. Legal assistant, not paralegal. That's what some of the employers, the law firms, clients are requesting that they pay for it, the legal assistant. It makes more sense to them, I guess. But either one means the same thing. And those people perform tasks traditionally handled by attorneys, spend the bulk of their time performing document management, client relations, and research. They're skilled at using technologies to assist them in performing those duties. It's a demanding, exciting, fulfilling opportunity. This course will give you the whole spectrum of the types of things that paralegals do and the smattering of the law that they'll do them in. My suggestion to you is each week you read the textbook chapter. Each week you listen to my podcast. And you do that before you ever attempt to complete the assignment for this week or each week. Now, the assignment for this week will be the simplest of any task I give you in this course. But again, if you haven't read the textbook chapter and then listen to this podcast, you're going to struggle with even this most simplest of things. So be sure you've done those things. And then go and read the assignment, outline your assignment, think about how you're going to complete it. Don't just throw it together in 5 minutes. And plan your week. Plan how you're going to get this thing done. Not only plan on how you're going to post your own assignment, but manage your time so you can come back and schedule the time to come back and read and comment on the things posted by other people. Because if you don't do that in this or any other of my courses, you don't get the points. You can have the absolute best assignment posted of all the original assignments, but you didn't come back into the class and you didn't participate as expected, you get no points. And all of that's outlined on the syllabus. If you haven't read the syllabus, go read the syllabus. It'll always be available on Blackboard, and you should be able to find it at any time, but read it. It lays out where we're going each week. It lays out all the expectations. Anything you need to know about the class is probably contained on that document. This is a podcast for week number 1. Introduction to Paralegal. Welcome to the course.